Do you think it's a good thing our government is paying for circumcisions? That's right, circumcisions, and not for Americans, mind you. Neither do I. Every paycheck, every dollar we earn, Uncle Sam takes his cut. We're told it's for roads, schools, security, the things that actually benefit us as Americans. But instead, we're finding out that millions, no, billions are being funneled into ridiculous projects overseas. And today, we've got more ridiculous waste to show you. This is so crazy, it's almost funny. Almost. Doge has been cutting the fat, and while that's great, what's even more shocking is the sheer amount of waste they're uncovering. Folks, it's our tax dollars being burned, and trust me, what you're about to hear will make your head spin.
The whole Doge experience that we've been having over the last 3 weeks has been incredible. People just sort of every day learning about new terrible spending that's going on, things they never knew our government was giving money to. And U.S. tax dollars were going to be spent. Check this out. Look at this list, you guys, on things that have now been canceled. I mean, you just gotta love these last 3 weeks. $10 million for medical male circumcisions in Mozambique.
You really like that one.
I do. I mean, that's crazy. $32 million for the Prague Civil Society Center. That sounds like CIA stuff, for sure. $29 million, strengthening political landscapes in Bangladesh.
I'm sorry, does that sound like a CIA operation or what?
Yeah. Totally. This is all like regime change, crazy stuff.
See, it's like we see with a lot of this stuff, like, okay, so for instance, USAID, I think it was created in 1961 by JFK, and the goal was to thwart communism. So sometimes these things are maybe created with, a good mission, we'll say to speak, and then you sort of see this mission creep over the years. And we see that with so many aspects of government, where maybe some of these things were created with maybe noble intent at the time, but then end up in corruption. And then you look at some of this money, which this isn't all USAID money that we're talking about, but you look at some of this stuff, and Rachel, you had mentioned earlier, and Charlie just mentioned, what was this money going towards? Are we meddling in other elections?
Are we meddling in other elections? Are we setting up NGOs that are just getting people rich? I mean, what's happening?
Yeah. And one of the craziest things is like if you Democrats try to defend some of the stuff, and they say, $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. And then they say, $14 million, that's a drop in the bucket. Drop in the bucket is where all corruption hides.
Are we giving all this money to NGOs and making people rich? We're going to come back to that. Here's the kicker. This isn't new. Programs like USAID were originally created, as they mentioned, back in 1961. JFK wanted to have a way to combat communism by offering economic support abroad, winning hearts and minds. I get that. Sounds good in theory, but like most things in the government, it's spiraled into something much bigger, much murkier, and a whole lot more expensive. And it appears to me that when people like Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, basically everybody who's screaming and yelling about Doge, stopping the waste, is probably getting payoffs in some way, shape, or form. Some form of coercion, some form of compensation. Sometimes it's just assistance in getting elected so they can keep their job. By the way, that's against the law. And let's talk about the classic excuse. It's just a drop in the bucket, as they mentioned. That's how they justify it. They say, it's only $14 million for public procurement in Serbia. Don't worry about it. But here's the thing. Corruption hides in those drops in the buckets. You stack up enough of those drops, and suddenly we're hemorrhaging billions of dollars on programs that most Americans didn't even know existed, let alone approved of. So the real question is, who benefits? Because it sure isn't the American taxpayer, at least on the surface it looks that way. Are we funding NGOs, non-government organizations, that exist to enrich their own executives, or maybe those NGOs, which are funded by our tax money, go to support a political agenda? Probably not your political agenda, or you wouldn't be watching this. Because they're non-government, they can do whatever they want. But they're paid for by us through the government. See the corruption? Are we meddling in other countries' elections under the guise of aid? Almost assuredly, of course. All that's coming out as well, and I promise you, we will bring you the information when it comes. Wouldn't you like to know about the next $10 million for foreign circumcisions? And to make sure that happens, you can scan this QR code or hit the like and subscribe button. That way, we're putting the good information you want in front of you. It'd mean the world to me, and it lets YouTube know that we're providing something of value. One thing's for sure, Elon Musk and the Doge team cracking open this can of worms has exposed just how deep the rot really goes. And folks, this is just the beginning. Here's a little more just for fun.
$47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia, when China and all these Asian countries, Singapore, they're all kicking our butts in education anyway. Like, why isn't that going to American kids? I don't think it's enough, you guys, that we just cut this spending. We have to figure out, Are we going to prosecute people who have been ripping us off?
What Democrat's going to?
I think that's the other part of it, right?
What Democrat's going to go down defending this $10 million for male circumcision?
You'd be surprised how many would actually support that. It's just a little bit. It's just a drop in the bucket. Listen, I have 4 kids. 2 went to private school and 2 went to public schools. There is a difference. But even more so, we ranked at the absolute bottom for the top 40 countries in the world. Now, these are our kids and the future of our country. And now, I don't know about you, but I support the Department of Education being abolished and going back to the state. Let the state run their state and compete. Right now, it's just a bunch of people working in offices that don't actually teach. Harry S. Truman said it fantastic. I thought you guys would get a kick out of this, particularly considering the topics today. We're talking about all this wasteful money. I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan at my age of getting healthy, being healthy, and staying healthy. So big food, big pharma, not my friends. The next video for you is how Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is taking them on and that they need to worry. It's right here. Let's get to it. I'm Phil. This is Synopsis of Stupidity. God bless you. God bless America. Check out Robert F. Kennedy.